Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I am your Loremaster, here today to bring you another lore dump on the World of Golarion. First lore dump, you know what I meant. Anywho, to start out, we'll be looking at one of the two most basic principles of a setting, time. Specifically, we'll be doing a general look at the ages of the planet of Golarion, or at least for the area we tend to hang out in, the inner sea region. TNZ has its own reckoning of ages, but with the limited information we currently have on them, the entire history of the region as we know it could realistically be its own video. Either way, let's get started. The history of Golarion is divided into 8 historical ages, 3 prehistoric and 5 historical. To give you an idea of each age, I will also be giving highlights of each of the ages. For specifics of all that's happened in each, well, that sounds like it's probably going to need their own video as well. Either way, first off is the Age of Creation. This is exactly how it sounds. This is where everything began. The various worlds were created from nothing. The gods first began appearing, followed by mortals. However, one big event that needs a specific mention is that this is the time when several gods teamed up to imprison the Kliptov Rovagug, the rogue beast and god of destruction of all things, by creating a demiplane and then building a world around said demiplane. This world was Golarion. This eventually gave way to the Age of Serpents, where the first creatures began building empires now long lost history. The first 2 species to gain dominance of the world were dragons, giants, and the serpent folk. Yes, while humans did exist at this time, they were little more than playthings for other species. And the reason the era got its name is because there was massive empires of serpentine species across the planet, and maybe even other nearby planets, from the species of snake people known as such in the inner sea region, to the Naga empires across TNZ and Rudra. This is also a time period when various great Cyclopean empires, the likes that have ruins scattered across the inner sea region, were first built. And it's also the first recorded instance of elves on the planet. Which leads us to today's first side tangent, where I talk about semi-related information I think is interesting to know. Today we start with this. Did you know elves are aliens? Maybe. It's complicated. Elves live on 2 planets, Golarion and the second planet in the solar system, Castabel. Like all elf civilizations, the 2 are connected by elf gates, or Ayudara. However, in-world historians debate which planet they were originally from. It is known most elves abandoned the world at the time of Earthfall, an event we'll be getting to, and spent centuries on Castabel while everyone else was putting themselves back together. But whether they came from Castabel to here before being forced to abandon back to the homeworld, or whether they started here like the other native species, before establishing a foothold which would soon be destined to become a permanent home away from home on the other planet. Back onto the main topic. Eventually the first human empires rose, the Aslan Empire, and with it a new age, the Age of Legends. Various other empires rose around this time, including the oft-referenced Thessalonian Empire, the rise of the Dragon Empires of TNZ, and some latecomers to the Cyclopean empires. The rise of humans and their power continued on until the year negative 5293 AR. God, these numbers. No guesses on why not much fun to make game mechanics as aim on the lore. Well, we will get to what AR means in a moment, but what is important is what happened on that year. Earthfall. I won't go into the details of why Earthfall happened in this video, but the end result is clear. All major empires in the area was lost. Various technological advances were reset, the continent of Esland sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and the large mass of island known today as the Inner Sea region was formed. This is the beginning when recorded history in the region begins, and the beginning of the Age of Darkness. This era is named as such because debris from the destruction covered the earth in darkness for 1,000 years, which also happens to fulfill an old prophecy about the exile of a certain god. Also another video. This is also when several new races emerged. First the dwarves, having been a subterranean race until now, the dwarven crest of the sky brought them to the surface, along with the more resistant orcs, creating an age-old rivalry. The lack of light also encouraged open exchange between our plane, the material plane, and the nearby plane of shadows. This led to some humans, including some who managed to escape Earthfall by going to the plane of shadows, to adapt to the lightless world, becoming Kael, or as they are better known, fetchlings. In addition, creatures from the plane of shadows called Wayang first appeared in TNZ and make up one of the major ancestries there today. Which leads to our second side tangent, the Wayang. Specifically, the origin of the ancestry. The Wayang is based off of the Wayang, the Indonesian tradition of shadow puppetry. Originally from the island of Java, the tradition uses specifically made puppets to cast distinct shadow associated with the art. And if you look at the puppets compared to the Pathfinder ancestry, which you need to do at home because no way am I editing this in, you will see the similarities. Well, between the 1E look and with their appearance in Bestiary 3, as well as other returning ancestries, which looks people prefer depend on personal taste. Either way, the Wayang reside on the island of Minata, as well as the dark market of the city of Goka, which just so happens to be the two places where Paizo's upcoming adventure path are taking place. Should we expect a surprise ancestry reveal similar to the Shuni? Yes, we'll have to see. Note, this video was originally going to come out on May 1st, but I underestimated how hard making these actually would be, so this instead being a double episode on the 8th. I'm pre-recording this on the 4th before the first book is coming out, so I do not know if the prediction is right or not. But if such an ancestry will appear in the first, second book or whatever, just saying if they are in the first book and it did actually come out on time instead of being delayed. I just wanted to say beforehand I was right. Either way, around 1,000 years of darkness, the sun re-emerged, bringing about the Age of Anguish in the year negative 4284 AR. Numbers. Either way, while the cataclysm had been survived, humanity was now ready to reform the large civilizations they once had. Humanity was not ready to reform the large civilizations they once had, with the era eventually ending with the first success to do so. However, before then, gnomes immigrated from the First World and began their constant battle to remain maintained. The first of the creatures of mass destruction called the Spawn of Ravagug came into existence, and became the first of several super boss creatures existing on the planet's surface. Eventually, the legendary orc wizard Old Man Jatambe and his 10 magic warriors, who made it their mission to restore human order, established the Megagambia, the world's oldest university/magic school. It was the year negative 3470 AR, almost there, when the nation of Orishu was founded, the first human empire since Earthfall. It was a new dawn, the age of legends, the time when humanity was finally rebuilding. Soon Osirion was followed by nations which still exist today. This includes Taladon and the lands of the Linorum Lords. However, two of the most famous were the nations of Nex and Geb, two nations self-named for their founding wizards, known for their long magic war between them. Ending with the disappearance of Nex and Geb, Border Victory took the first steps in his nation becoming one for the undead. But the single most important event was Eredon, the last surviving ancestor of the Aslanti Empire people, rising the Starstone, the meteor that caused Earthfall, along with the entire island of Absalon, an event which caused him to rise as the god of humanity, serves as the event of Golarian's calendar is based off of, when year -1 in Absalon reckoning time became year 1. And so became the era known as the Age of Enthronement. Eredin, now the most important god in the Inner Sea region, created a citadel around the Starstone to limit the people who could also ascend to godhood with its power. And so became the 9 possible tests of the Starstone, which only 3 others people have passed, and countless others have failed. Many of the modern nations started to take form, the most important of this being the nation of Cheliax, which soon overtook Taladin as the most powerful nation in the Inner Sea. One other event of note is Eredin's battle. Wait, Eredin did not do anything to help, actually. Eredin's loyal followers' battle against Tar-Baphon, the Whispering Titan, one of the most powerful legions in existence. During an event known as the Shadowy Crusade in the year... do not have the number. Doesn't matter. The crusade happened. He was sealed away for centuries. Eredin be praised for sending people to do his job for him. Which eventually accumulated in a day of great destiny. The year 4606 AR. Several millennia with Eredin standing on the top. Prophecy dictated that Eredin would return to the world and raise the nation of Cheliax to heights yet unknown. The Age of Glory. However, on the appointed day, the god did not appear. Instead, a terrible screech echoed far and wide across the continent. All clerics of Eredin lost contact with the god. Since then, it was assumed Eredin, the god who had shaped the last millennia, was dead. 4606 was a huge year. Many incidents happened, some in direct response to Eredin's death, some indirectly, suspiciously beginning at the same time as echoing screech. It all coincidentally began that year, just adding more to the chaos. However, the most notable thing to occur was that, after the prophecy of the Age of Glory fell through, thousands of prophecies began to fail. Which brings us to the present, the Age of Lost Omens. First edition beginning 100 years after the age began, and second edition an additional 10 more. And in such a short amount of time, much has happened. But, since most of that is still being written, I think that is a topic for another video. Now before we finish off, let's quickly go over smaller units of time. Considering where we end up, let's call this one Side Tangent 3. Golarion is roughly based on Earth and therefore has many of the different time features of Earth. It has 24-hour days, a 52-week year, which is divided up into 12 months, roughly the same length as those of our Western calendar, except with the months named after their gods. However, there is one difference. Golarion goes around the sun slightly slower than on Earth, and therefore has a leap year every 8 years instead of every 4. Which means Earth would go through 1 extra year every 2,920 years, Golarion years. But does a comparison of time between Golarion and Earth matter? Well, that leads us into the last of our side tangents today. Earth actually exists in the same universe as Golarion. In the adventure path Reign of Winter, a group of adventurers are tasked with finding the missing witch Baba Yaga, traveling to a different tundra across the galaxy she had established territory on. Eventually, in the book Rasputin Must Die, they find her trapped on her homeworld of Earth by her son Rasputin, who also had imprisoned another one of her children, Tsarina Anastasia. And all warriors and wizards have to fight through World War I style infantry to save them both. Oh, the strange direction tabletop can take us. Either way, Reign of Winter takes place in 4713 AR, and when our adventurers arrive on Earth, it is 1918 AD. So while all of you 2E players are facing super dungeons, entering fighting tournaments, and preparing to teach at a magic school, Earth is currently in the middle of the roaring 20s. For now. At the very least, if 2E also spans 10 years, you are safe knowing nothing too depressing is happening across the universe. And that's it for today's episode. Research today was fun, going all the way back to the Pathfinder Gazetteer in 2008. One of the earliest books that Paizo wrote for the setting. But wait, there's more. Later today, potentially at the same time that this video is coming out, there'll be another video coming out talking about the different continents of Golarion. An unintended double feature. What I'm about due to how I underestimate how much work this is actually needed to create a video, even if slapped together as it is. My big battle this week is making thumbnails. I don't understand how people actually edit their own work. Thankfully, we here at the janky setup of the year 4816, last date number I swear. So all I have to worry about, and all you need to expect, is some more lore coming at you soon. Outro.